was 36 years old. His post was reported to police by his own brother-in-law. The case is a comparison to what has happened in other areas of our world where people are being attacked for their values and views.
G'day, legends. I need everybody that is not in Australia to do Australians a service, please. We are being banned, censored, and taken off our platforms for speaking up about that ideology and about what's been taking place here in Australia. And we can't outwardly speak about it. So can you?
Now, Donald Trump had everything right just the other day when he said that the people from these other cultures, they are vicious. Donald Trump said that they make the people in America who are violent look like babies. And I think that this is a perfect example. This is a very soft-spoken woman, afraid to get in trouble because of her views or the fears that she has, asking for other people to please step up and please be here to make the voices heard. I'm a little bit concerned that what we're going to see soon is a fight for our lives in the streets of our countries.
All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bahasham Ha Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well in Shalom, to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, Wa Abababal. All right, so as you can see what that man just said, what you can see, he is an Edomite. If you watch Full Spectrum, all right, Survival, which is a skinhead news report, all right, this Edomite, he pretty much puts news out, and his point of view is that they got to come down with great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time. Revelation 12, verse 12, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, because there's going to be a nuclear war. For the devil, the so-called white man, which is actually red, he is an Edomite, is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. All right, you just heard this Edomite say they believe they're going to have to fight for their lives in the street, which is going to happen. All right, it's going to go into a race war. Matthew 24, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation. That's race against race. And kingdom against kingdom. World War III. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up, talking about the Israelite prophet, to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And this is really what they're upset about. All right, which they're upset that the truth is coming out, that the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, which been scattered throughout the world in slavery, is the true biblical Hebrew Israelite according to prophecy. All right, the so-called white race have set up counterfeits, and the light is being shined upon them, and they're scrambling like roaches, like rats. All right, and they're trying to cover themselves. And they're not hiding themselves, because the truth is out. The light is shining on the earth, which is Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, and they're being exposed for their lies. All right. So the only answer they have is to come down with great wrath. All right. Because they know that they have but a short time, which they have the sword, they have the gun, they have the robot. They even have a great sword, the nuclear missile that was given to them, but it's going to fall upon their own head. All right. Isaiah 54 and verse 16, behold, I have created the smith, which is the so-called white race, the red devil, which really he's a sword in the Lord's hand, and he's a weapon of mass destruction. that bloweth the coals in the fire, which they have the blessing of the sword. That's how they got the earth. Excuse me. And that's how they got the earth, was by the sword. Now they have scientists that create nuclear weapons, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy it. It says, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. All right, so they're rising up against us and trying to judge us, but they're condemned because they're the devil. They're the red devil the Bible speaks of. It says their tongue is smooth as butter, but they're or even sweet as honey, but they're in their heart is war. All right, when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. All right, the Edomite says they're impoverished, but they will soon rebuild the desolate places. So in their mind, all they could think of is to murder anyone that doesn't agree with them. It says, this is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh, and their righteousness is of me, saith Yahweh. So Yahweh raised us up, summoned us into this generation to condemn the devil, the wicked men, Esau, Edom, which his wickedness have corrupted the whole earth. And that's why the earth is in a violent, wicked state, because the so-called white race, the red devil the Bible speaks of, is ruling the world. All right. Here it is in Psalm 55, verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And that's what they're doing right now with the media. As you heard this guy, he said that woman was so soft-spoken, right? A soft-spoken so-called white woman. But really, they're devils. They're the red devil the Bible speaks of. All right? Let me see the next verse. Let's see. '21. So let's go there. Psalm 51, 21. Psalm 51. Nope. 55. Psalm 55 and 21. And this cross-reference. Psalm 28 and 3. Draw me not away with the wicked. The wicked is the so-called white race, and with the workers of iniquity, which they promote immoral behavior, which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts. See, they're the devil. Psalm 57 verse 4, my soul is among lions, which Esau is a lion looking for who he may devour. And I lie even among them that are set on fire, even the sons of men, whose teeth are spears and arrows, and their tongue a sharp sword, because they're going to push draconian law, and it's going to be that they want to put us to death because we tell the truth. All right. Psalm 64 and 3, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. All right. Proverbs 5 verse 3, for the lips of a strange woman, which they push false doctrine, drop as an honeycomb, right? It's sweet as honey, and their mouth is smoother than oil, but her end is bitter, which is going to be by fire, as wormwood, nuclear destruction, sharp as a two-edged sword. All right. So I just wanted to make that point of them trying to deceive the people by talking soft and without cursing and all this, right? But really, they're the devil, all right? These people are not, the so-called target for no reason. It's because they're the devil. Look at their record. Look what they've done to the whole world. Look what they're doing right now to the whole world, all right? And it tells you eventually they're going to be persecuted by everybody, just like he said. He said it himself. We believe we're going to be fighting for our lives pretty soon. And that's true. That's very true. All right. It tells you in, let's see, Isaiah 14 and 5, it says, Yahweh had broken the staff of the wicked. So Yahweh is destroying America. And it's going to eventually become a lake of fire when Yahweh Shai returns, the son of Yahweh. And the scepter of the rulers, which the wicked rule the world using America. He who smote the people in wrath with the continual stroke, which is the so-called white race. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. So when their judgment comes, no one's going to step in to try to save them. All right. They don't have a prayer on earth or in heaven. All right. Every nation is going to be against them for what they've done to every nation. But they're going to, all the nations, be enslaved under the Israelite nation. All right. So, that one there. And then I want to get in Genesis, which Cain was pretty much the first Edomite. All right. When he murdered his brother and hid his body, the Lord took his color from him. That's why he became red. All right. And when he was reincarnated, he came back as the son of Isaac, which Isaac had two sons, Esau and Jacob. The blessing went to Jacob, which was the forefather of the Israelites, and Esau is the forefather of the so-called white race, which was the reincarnation of Cain. It says, but Genesis 4 verse 5, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. So the Lord don't respect Esau. He don't respect his prayers. He don't respect his religion. He don't have no respect for Esau. And Cain was very wroth. Cain means a weapon. Esau is a weapon of mass destruction. Was very wroth, and his countenance fell. This is what's happening right now. All right. With these Edomites, they're upset because Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushua don't love them. They don't have a prayer on earth. They don't have a prayer in heaven. And Yahweh said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? Why are you mad? You're the devil. You're wicked. And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou dost well, shall thou not be accepted? But you see, the so-called white man can't do good. In fact, they'll call themselves philanthropists, but they'll be doing evil experiments and other things. And if thou does not well, sin lieth at the door, which the Lord is going to judge this devil for his wickedness. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Which they're ruling over us now, but they're soon to go into slavery under us. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. Why did he destroy his brother? Because the Lord loved Abel and he hated Cain. Why is Esau going to try to destroy the Israelites? Because the Lord loves the Israelites and hates Esau. It says in verse 9, and Yahweh said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And this is his attitude today. This is why you're a wicked ass 2/3 if you're worried about the Edomite. Fuck the Edomite. This is his attitude towards you. All right. And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. That's why the more they murder, all right, it's only condemning them. And they can't stop themselves. They're the sword. So all they know is murder. All right? So the more they murder, especially Israelites, the more they're condemned. And eventually, once they touch the hopeful elect, the anointed, the Lord Yahweh is going to send Yahushai with the host of heaven, and he's going to condemn them, rebuke them, and they're going to be destroyed by fire. And now art thou cursed from the earth. That's why they need all these different chemicals or other nations working in the land, because Esau is cursed from the earth because he spilt so much blood, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand, which they murder. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth, which they are still today. A fugitive and a vagabond. Vagabond, meaning they're all over everybody's business, right, in everybody's countries. And a fugitive, because they steal and they murder and they lie. All right. It says, verse 13, and Cain said unto Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. And that's what they're doing. We need help. Save us, save us. But they brought this upon their own head. Right. And really a lot of these public mass shootings are done by the devil, the so-called white man. Remember, watch the movie Rosewood, all right? When they get in trouble, they'll throw you under the bus so that they have the right to use that sword, all right? And once they start murdering, they can't stop themselves. They're a weapon of mass destruction, all right? It says, behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, which this is why they look the way they do. They're the most unnatural nation on earth. And from thy face shall I be hid, which they have no mercy. This is why they say they're antichrist, or what is the name? Atheist is the word I was thinking. Atheist. And they're atheists because if they really said there was a God, it would condemn them because they're the devil. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, which he is in 2025, the year that we pray for judgment against the wicked, our oppressor, and salvation for the Israelites, starting with the elect. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And we're coming into that time. Pretty much, they're not going to have nowhere to run. All right? And who's going to rouse up Judah and the Israelites? Is the Edomite. He's going to persecute the Israelite, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian. And it's going to lead to their destruction and their enslavement. They're going to go into slavery for 1,000 years before their extinction. The other nations will also serve in slavery for 1,000 years, but they'll be allowed to continue as tributaries. All right, but Esau, he has no future. All right, he's going into extinction after 1,000 years of intense slavery. Remember, they have to pay back. They have to be paid back for what they've done unto us, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, which are the biblical Hebrew Israelites. And they don't want that, obviously, for what they've done unto us. Now I'm going to go back just a little bit so you can hear that.
In the streets of our...
Let me go back a little more.
And please be here to make the voices heard. I'm a little bit concerned that what we're going to see soon is a fight for our lives in the streets of our countries.
Now I'm going to skip to this lady because, you know, they're using propaganda tactics, and they have these, liars that they use. But I want to get to what Trump says.
Take that into account and now listen to what the U.S. President Donald Trump has to say.
The love and prayers to our entire nation, to the people of Australia, and especially all those affected by the horrific and anti-Semitic terrorist attack, and that's exactly what it is, anti-Semitic. that took place.
Which there's no such thing as Semitic. All right, that's a made-up word. The biblical name was Shem, one of the sons of Noah, which out of Shem came Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which Isaac had two sons, Esau and Jacob, but Esau was rejected, and Jacob the blessing went to.
So on a Hanukkah celebration in Sydney, what a terrible...
And see, they're trying to cover themselves, trying to act like they're us, they're counterfeits. In Hanukkah, the Israelites conquered the Greeks, which the Greeks were Edomites. All right, look at Alexander the Greek, Antiochus, the so-called Epiphanes. All right, they were Edomites, so-called Caucasians. All right.
Terrible thing. In mourning all of those.
But originally, they were Japheth, which you got to remember, Australia, all right, how did the Edomites get that land? See, Caucasians, which means cave dweller, because in the Dark Ages, they were cavemen, Neanderthals in Europe. It says, didn't conquer Australia in a single event, but through gradual colonization starting in 1788, establishing penal settlements and claiming the land under the false premises of Terra Nullius, nobody's land. And that's what they did in America. They said nobody has buildings here because God lived in tents, right? So they came through and they said that they had the God-given right. It was called manifest destiny, right? To go through and slaughter the northern kingdom that was here in America, and then to enslave the southern kingdom and bring them here on slave ships. Well, that's what they've done to all the nations throughout the world, right? Look what they've done to the Chinese, the Japanese. Look what they've done to all these nations, the Africans. Look what they've done to the Japheth people, which dwelled in Europe, right? This is why they called themselves Greeks and Romans, because they slaughtered the Japhetic people that dwelt in Europe. You see, they're the devil. The so-called white man cannot deny they are the devil. They steal, they murder, and they lie. All right?
What a terrible, terrible thing. In mourning all of the...
And you can see these men are red. They're not white. All right? They are red. They are the red devil the Bible speaks of. Esau, Edom.
Those recovery of the wounded, some are very must stand together against the evil forces of radical Islamic terrorism, and we're doing that.
So there you're seeing
Islam, you got to remember, the Islamic religion was created by the so-called white men. All right? So all these terrorist groups that they talk about, they were created by their secret societies. All right?
a coordinated spoken rhetoric by the U.S. president, by leaders across the United Kingdom, by the leadership in Australia, by Italy, by all these other countries, by France. Now all of the people are banding together to say, not get rid of people of faith background, but the radical, extreme parts of those faiths. And I think that that's going to be the ticket. That's what we're going to start seeing a lot more.
Which they're going to direct that hate toward the Israelite. It tells you that in Psalm 83. All right, which you just heard him say, they're confederate worldwide to try to come against certain faiths, right? Which, let me pull that up for you. See right here. It's Wallace Fard Muhammad, founder of Nation of Islam, founder of Nation of Islam. Wallace Fard Muhammad, or W.D. Fard, was a religious leader who was the founder of the Nation of Islam. He arrived in Detroit in 1930, which he was a so-called white man. All right? The devil the Bible speaks of. Now, Psalm 83, all right, I'm going to start at verse 1, a song or psalm of Asaph, which he's prophesying. Keep not thou silence, O O Elohim. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Elohim, which the Elohim today are the elect, the hopeful elect that are prophesying. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, which are signing executive orders against us to try to put us to death. And they that hate thee have lifted up the head, the serpent, the so-called white race. They're the devil the Bible speaks of. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. So they're confederate against the Israelites, starting with the Judite, the so-called American Negro. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And this shows you we have the truth. Why are they scrambling? Why are they panicking? Because of this truth. Why are they doing these false flags? Because of this truth, right? I just showed you the so-called white man invented Islam, all right? So Islam is not a threat. All right. Look what they're doing in what you know as Gaza. All right. So Islam is not a threat. Really, they're afraid of this truth that the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, which been scattered throughout the world in slavery, are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites, and these devils got hell to pay. All right. That's why they want to cut us off, and that we don't remember ourselves, which they're trying to do by bringing out the implantable microchip, the mark of the beast. For they have consulted together with one consent. They're confederate, and they are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, the red devil, the so-called white man, and the Ishmaelites, the Arabs of Moab, and the Hagarenes, which are Arabs, Gabal and Ammon, which Gabal is an Edomite race, and Ammon the Japanese, and Amalek, the counterfeits that are in our land, the small hats, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, the Africans, Ashur, which is Assyria, also is joined with them. They have Hopen, the sons of Lot, Selah. Look up who owns the most bonds of the U.S., Japanese and Chinese, the sons of Lot. See, we have a sure word of prophecy. It says, do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin at the brook of Kasan, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. And that's literally what's going to happen. The Lord's going to burn them up with fire. Chariot fire and nuclear fire. All right, it tells you right here, verse 14, as the fire burneth a wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. All right, so the Lord's going to destroy them with fire. All right, that's their future. Their kingdom, Babylon the Great, America, is going to lose World War III at the return of Yahushua. And it's going to become a lake of fire. All their military, which is going to be gathered in the valley of slaughter, the valley of Jehoshaphat, they're going to be destroyed by fire, chariot fire.
Those faiths. And I think that that's going to be the ticket. That's what we're going to start seeing a lot more of here in the United States of America. I wouldn't doubt that we start to have riots that are anti-Middle Eastern across our country. But what they're going to wait for is one big false flag event, two big false flag events to happen, and that's when they will enact these plans.
And see, he's talking about a false flag because he knows that his own people are the terrorists of the earth. All right? It tells you in 2 Ezra 9, and 1, it says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. So examine the times we're in. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which are the prophecies in the Holy Scripture, which I have told thee before, which Israelite men, holy Israelite men from the past had visions, which these visions are coming to life in this generation, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made, which is in this generation. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which earthquakes, there's thousands of earthquakes. I looked it up within 365 days from, I believe it was just like a couple days ago. It was like 50,000 earthquakes took place in the world. And uproars of the people in the world. You just heard him say that there's uproars and that there's going to be uproars of the people in the world, especially here in America. Babylon the Great, who art to be destroyed by fire. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High Yahweh spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning, which it was prophesied that this would happen. All right, even Yahushua prophesied about it. All right, it says, for like as all that is made in the world had a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, which we're at the end of the empire of America, the Edomites' kingdom, which is a wicked-ass place which promotes wickedness throughout the whole earth. See, this guy, this bald-head Edomite, would have nothing to say if you were promoting PDF activity like his hero Nero, or if, anything wicked or evil like sodomy, he'd be all right with it, right? A woman committing adultery, he'd be all right with it. But because it's being proven that the so-called white man is the red devil the Bible speaks of, which is a righteous thing, right? He condemns it, which really he's condemned. All right, his whole fucking race is condemned. All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai and Bahasham Ha Rakat Kodash. Double honors unto our apostle elders which rule great millstone wow, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. Wa Abba Babal.